The St. Kitts and Nevis Independence 42 Committee presents Conversations, Reflections and the Way Forward. This interactive discussion series provides an in-depth view of the trials and achievements of the past, as well as the accomplishments, threats, and tremendous opportunities of today and in the coming years that will transform the Twin Island Federation into a model sustainable island state, serving as a beacon for all. In this edition, we discuss Beyond the Beach Tower. Can St. Kitts and Nevis redefine luxury tourism for Kittitians and Nevisians?
Your children's future dwindling.
And a pleasant day to everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Conversations, Reflections on the Way Forward. This is part of our Independence 42 activities as we look at our independence theme and we have conversations surrounding that theme, focusing on that theme. And today's conversation is of particular importance to all of us here in St. Kitts and Nevis and the diaspora, because we're going to be talking about tourism, which we rely very heavily on, and our role in it and how we redefine it so that we get the most out of it. My name is Toni Frederick-Armstrong, your host for today. And our theme or our conversation today is going to be on Beyond the Beach Towel. So can St. Kitts and Nevis redefine luxury tourism for Kittitians and Nevisians? So that's what we're going to be looking at today. And I've collected some very important and experienced guests to take this conversation forward. I have sitting right next to me, Mrs. Melnecia Marshall, who is the Deputy CEO of the St. Kitts Tourism Authority. She's been with the authority for a long time, and she has seen it go through quite an evolution. So I think this is our person for this conversation today. And we also have, hailing from the Nevis Tourism Authority, Director of Sales and Marketing, Mr. Phéon Jones. Welcome, and thank you for braving the waters to come over today. It was a calm day, was it? Oh, that's lovely. And next to Mr. Jones, we have Mrs. Candice Grant-Charles, who is the CEO of our Modern Elegance. So all people involved in different capacities in St. Kitts and Nevis. So we're going to jump right in because I have some deep questions for you today. And as I ask them, and I will go to each of you, I want you to feel absolutely free to jump in, to comment. If somebody says something that brings another thought to your mind, let's forget the cameras, it's us. And let's start with this one. And remember that the focus really is about us, St. Kitts, Kittitians and Nevisians, and the product that we are presenting to the world. So how can St. Kitts and Nevis redefine luxury tourism to prioritize authenticity? We're not just talking about the sun, sand, and rum, which everybody else offers, but Kittitian and Nevisian authenticity, deep cultural immersion, environmental regeneration. That's a big deal for us when we're on a small island like this, small islands like this, and meaningful local community benefits over mere exclusivity and opulence. As we know with luxury tourism, quite often it's all about you know, a guest coming and being pampered and living in a lovely air-conditioned room with a pool that they just step into out of the door and fed, you know, all of the finest caviar. Okay, that's the typical vision of luxury tourism. Let's make this an authentic St. Kitts and Nevis experience. May I call you Melnecia? Because I'm going to slip and call you Melnecia anyway.
No, that's fine.
Melnecia, how do we do this? How do we take that same desire that people want to be pampered and treated as royalty and make it authentically Kittitian and Nevisian?
So one of the things I would like to start out by saying, thanks Toni for that question, is the fact that you sort of redefined luxury in your opening just a minute ago. And that is in the sense that, yes, we have always seen traditional luxury as opulence, 5-star properties, the caviar, the butler service, etc. But over the years, we have seen an evolution in the definition of what luxury actually is, as defined by the visitor. It is now something that is, yes, has some opulence to it, but it also has evolved into something that is more psychological and a sense of feeling and wellness, where persons are looking for experiences that they can't find anywhere else. And so that is what helps to define luxury in their minds. It is looking for an experience such as we have here in St. Kitts, Carol Bell Batik, for example, where you can go to the batik shop and you can make your own batik. You don't have that option in many places around the world. You don't have that option in the region. And so already we can look at things that we already have in existence. And based on that new definition of luxury, we see where we fit in. Many of our visitors today, they're looking for things to do beyond the sun, sea, and sand. Cultural immersion is no longer just a trend. It is something that is well sought after. Persons want to know, how can I live like the local? What do they eat? What is their culture? I mean, even for some of us who travel regularly, when we travel to places, we don't want and I like to say the glossy version of the experience. We want that authentic feel. We want to feel like we are embracing their culture, not just from looking, but from engaging into experiential travel. And so I think that is how, for St. Kitts and Nevis, we can now redefine ourselves and look at what we have, not something to create, and provide our visitors with that authentic, immersive experience that is now linked to luxury travel beyond the opulence.
Are we already doing that?
Yes, we are doing it. And I would say in 2022, we actually launched our Venture Deeper campaign. And that was one campaign that was greeted with much success, because coming out of the era, and I'm not going to say the word, we're beyond that, many persons, they now realize that there was more to travel than just the hotel and the sun and the sand and the regular things that persons do when they're doing leisure travel. But they now wanted something that went a little deeper, that reaffirmed them as individuals, that touched their soul. They wanted to know what the essence of life, of traveling to another destination was really about. Not just going to a hotel and relaxing beside a pool. They're now looking for fulfillment.
No, not to, and we definitely want to get this question to hear from our other guests, but for those who may not know what Venture Deep is, they just see a billboard on the highway. Maybe they've seen a little ad on social media.
Venture Deeper was a campaign that we launched in 2022 that invited our visitors to go beyond the sun, sea, and sand of St. Kitts and to really explore the destination, to delve deeper into our culture, our history, our people, and to engage with us so that they can have that sense of who we are, that essence of our spirit. And so while you may see it on a billboard, and we even encourage our nationals and residents to venture deeper. Many persons who are here on island, they have never really experienced our islands as a visitor, as a tourist, and I use that word loosely. But I encourage us, now that we have these opportunities, our tourism product has been evolving, it has been expanding, and we want our nationals to appreciate who we are and what we have. And so we have the culinary, the eco-adventure. Yes, we do have the luxury because we have the luxurious properties. And so we want persons to really see the destination for all that it has.
Okay. Sure. I haven't even heard your responses to the questions, but you know what? This has to flow naturally. Candice, jump right in and tell us something she said got you excited.
Yes, when you asked about the venture deeper, there was a guest that I had just a few weeks ago, and I was explaining to them what venture deeper meant, and I'm going to say it, hear me out. I likened it to a relationship.
Ooh.
So you see St. Kitts, you see the sun, sea, and sand, and you're like, oh, that looks nice. And the venture deeper means, let me see what's on the inside. Let me see what off the beaten path is. Let me see what your rainforest is like. Let me see what your food, your culture, all of these things. So you want to go inside the mind. You see a nice looking girl and you're like, oh, she looks nice. Let me see if she has anything up here. When the client comes, they want to know, when the guests come to our shores, they want to know that it's not just that, because they can get that from almost any other
You can go to
island.
Miami, you know what I mean?
Yes, precisely.
Yeah.
It's much cheaper. But, but you'd come here because you want to know, you want to kind of like live like a local. You want to get in our daily habits. You want to eat our foods, experience our culture in a great curated experience. And when you ask the first question that you asked about redefining luxury, as Melnecia mentioned, is not just about the big box hotels now and the private jets and the yachts, which is nice, but what guests are looking for now are personalized, memorable experiences. So when they come to the island, they want to experience things that they can only do in St. Kitts. They want, when they go back, it's an air of exclusivity because they can tell their friends, I got to do this because I was in St. Kitts, and you couldn't because you didn't come.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and I know, Mr. Jones, that you wanted to comment on something Melnecia said. So when you do that, you can touch on the answer as well, and also maybe work into that Nevis's new branding, because I think part of that very bold branding is kind of what we're talking about, that redefinition. So put all of that together for me.
I want to start there, actually. So we recently rebranded, and we came out with a slight campaign that's black and white, and that was met with a lot of conversation.
It was different.
It was very different.
But wasn't that the point?
A showstopper.
But that was the point, though, wasn't it?
When you're going to the Caribbean, and then you're going into black and white, you wonder what's happening. But in either case, this was done to give that air of luxury. They redefined the purpose of Nevis naturally. One of the things I want to speak about when we touch on Nevis is Nevis has always been in that space as it relates to luxury. We've been going after that type of clientele. That is our niche as it relates to tourism. Now, just to bring it back though, one of the sticking points for me is when you speak of luxury, it's not just about the amenities. It's also about the service. And I think that's a very big aspect that sometimes we overlook when it comes to luxury. And I say that because we have some big name resorts, hotels in St. Kitts and Nevis. And of course, I have to big up Four Seasons. They have been here for a very long time, and they have won numerous awards when it comes to luxury. But we have already tackled what the tourists can expect when they come to St. Kitts Nevis. But I just want to go a bit further and speak on the aspect of Kittitians and Nevisians and what we receive from luxury. Now, when I look at it, I think that luxury brings in a higher dollar value because they're paying for more. They're paying for the exclusive experience. They're paying to, as you say, live like a local. And that in itself comes at a higher price point. Now, because that comes at a higher price point, I think it empowers our people to venture into entrepreneurship, you know, creating businesses that will be in the space of tourism and also, you know, supporting the families. And what we've seen now, tourism has really increased not only the profile of the island, but also the inhabitants, the Kittitians and Nevisians, you know. More persons are venturing off, going to school, studying, becoming more educated. You realize that persons have opened spas in their homes and stuff like that. So I must admit that I think that we have already, in a sense, redefined what luxury is for St. Kitts and Nevis. I think we're just on the correct path now to take it to the next level. I don't want to call any names. I think they'll be fine, but I remember growing up in Newcastle and my neighbors, Compassionate Touch. I remember when they started that business. And to see where it is today in relations to the feedback, hearing people speak about it, they always have persons coming there and they really love the service. And I myself, I was fortunate to experience it. And I've never known a massage to be so beautiful. You know, I guess I've been missing out all the years of my life. But to say all of that, I'm also saying it's also the element of the service, the natural service that comes along with it. Even the accent or the twangs that we would use when we're speaking to tourists. You know, all of that, I think, incorporates in the entire luxury and the service side of it. And I think it has benefited the populace, and it has also benefited the island as it relates to the infrastructure developments, advancement in the infrastructure, the schools, healthcare, etc. So we've seen how it has redefined the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and I think we should just continue in that same vein, encourage more persons to become entrepreneurs, encourage more persons to get out there, push their business forward. And I also want to focus on encouraging persons to consistently continue to train in this space, because what was popular or what was the norm 20, 15 years back is different now. As you see, the tourists want a different experience. They want to be immersed, as you said, venture deeper. But to me, in my mind, luxury is not just amenities, it's also the service aspect of it. It's also creating the special experiences. It's also displaying your culture at that level. So I think we're definitely on the correct path as it relates to.
Okay. No, and what you all have said has raised a whole bunch of other questions.
Yes.
But we can all agree that the redefinition is happening and has happened to a large extent. So we're at the stage now where we need to refine the experience itself, so what these various experiences are. So we agreed, right?
Yes,
we're on the right path here. No. Before I get into what some of those, and you've touched on some of them, some of the experiences, you made a point about service more than amenities. And truthfully, it isn't necessarily that somebody wants to go to a spa that's, you know, has golden chairs and fluffy towels necessarily. You can go to somebody's home and it can be a simple little thing where you walk down a garden path and there's a little dog following you, and you just have a wonderful person who is just so gracious and treats you so well, and they offer you a little cup of bush tea or whatever it might be. And that simple, authentic experience can be luxurious in its uniqueness, yeah? So it is the service is the key.
Yes.
Because you can be at the fluffy gold chaired spa with a humgrumptious person who is vexed because they got in a fight with the towel guy, you know, and so the key goes beyond the material, right?
And
how do we do this now? Because I have seen some things, you know, being around people in hospitality where in a lot of ways, I still think there's some work to be done in that regard, into getting the buy-in from all the locals, not just the people working in hospitality. Because if I'm in town and I say, excuse me, where do I find the treasury or the museum? You want every engagement to have somebody who's happy to speak with you. So how do we do that? How do we do that? Years ago, I went to the Bahamas, and I'm telling you, every person I engage, and I'm a West Indian, so I'm not the traditional Anglo-Saxon tourist in the Hawaiian shirt. I'm a West Indian there as a tourist. And listen, you thought that you were going into somebody's home. How every single man jack, how every taxi driver, how every person you stopped on the street and asked for. Because everybody understood that the Bahamas depended heavily on tourism and the experience of the visitor. They got it. So it's okay. It's all right.
I think we're all fighting now to answer this question.
Mr. Jones is just
So
far too excited,
Yes.
so we have to let him go first.
Let him go
because
first.
he's going to keep it.
Lord.
It's all right.
Usually it's ladies first, and I do believe in
No, we
that.
don't need that
For this
sexist thing
one
here.
day today,
He
I
is
just
the
want
most
to jump in.
enthusiastic.
Go ahead.
Let him
And
go
then
first.
we'll
It's all
come
right.
right in after.
Ladies, I just want to touch on one of the points you made about the authenticity. Now, when you spoke about that dog, walking behind the person, if that dog was trained to bring something to the guests.
You're really thinking outside the box.
That's what I'm saying. That adds
Yeah.
to the whole, luxury, authentic experience. Now, as it relates to the Bahamas, and you said that back in the day, everyone understands that tourism is all of our business. I think to some extent, it's still that way. And with anything in life, I think training should be constant. And training, for me, is not just when you become an adult or when you join a tourism sector or something to do with tourism. I think the Ministry of Tourism a couple of years back would have embarked on a tourism class, and it's being taught in schools actually. And
In Nevis?
Yes. One of the things which I like and I marvel at, and just to say real quick, not to go off on a tantrum, is whenever you meet persons, say from the island of Jamaica, no matter where they are in the world, and you ask them, how's Jamaica? Jamaica nice. And I think that's one of the things that we have to cultivate here within St. Kitts Nevis.
We're going to tell you all the bad things first.
Well, I'm not going to say that. Geez, remember your life. I'm playing. But yeah, essentially what we want now is to start from young, and that young age, that when persons go out or go anywhere in the world, they become natural ambassadors of St. Kitts and Nevis. Because I do believe, even though there's bad things happening anywhere in the world, as what's his name, Informer in his song. Oh, you could sing as well, But me love and Nevis. But anyways, there's a part in that song that say, many things happening in the world, but, he loves St. Kitts and Nevis bad. So the point I am making is, regardless of what happens in the world, there's always so much great things to be happy and thankful about. There's so much things that we have here that we take for granted. Most persons here in St. Kitts Nevis get to work probably in under 20, 30 minutes. In the US, a lot of your time is hours. You're commuting from home to work. And when you get back home, you have to get to sleep because you have to do this again the next day. Them simple pleasures that we experience here, all of that is a part of it. And I think that is one of the parts we can start on the training aspect from young that is embedded in us. So you will see a dynamic shift a couple of years from now.
Sorry, I just wanted to appreciate what Phéon just said, but also to take it a little bit further. My grandmother used to say, charity begins at home. Okay? And I believe that as we continue to evolve in tourism, customer service, it has to be a part of who we are.
Ooh, that's a tall order.
It has to be a part of who we are. And sometimes what we have happening is that you're teaching a person to smile, you're teaching a person to be nice, as we may say, but it's not coming from a place of appreciation and rooted in who I am. So for example, when I was growing up, everyone you had to pass and you would say good morning.
Yes.
Now we may think that has nothing to do with tourism, but it actually does, because it's teaching
Common
you
courtesy.
Common courtesy. And so as you develop and as you get older, it grows with you. And so you have no problem if you have to show that same courtesy to someone who is visiting your island, because it is a part of who we are. It's a part of our culture. Unfortunately, today, I may walk around and sometimes I have friends who say, why don't you stop doing that? I literally walk around and we're saying good morning, good morning, good morning. And some people still look at you kind of strange, like, what are you talking, like, what? But we have to get back to a place where we don't see tourism as servitude, because I also get the impression, we see it all the time, that is how it is seen and perceived by individuals outside and within the industry. And then secondly, to a point that Phéon made, we have to appreciate what the sector, the industry can do for us, right? Tourism has the ability to change lives, and we have to appreciate it for that. Phéon spoke a lot to the point of entrepreneurship. And in the luxury tourism space and in the venture deeper space, there are many opportunities for us to use the resources that we have to create businesses that would help us to earn and enhance our own livelihoods. Candice is here sitting, and we had a program a few months ago where we were working with local tour operators to develop unique tours that could be sold to onboard the cruise vessels or to our visitors who are stayovers. But it was really rooted in authenticity, showcasing the destination for what it truly is. And I'm not saying that we have to show them the rough and the rugged and all of these things, but we have to curate the experience, make sure we identify and how we package it.
Right.
It's all about the packaging as well, so that then it can be exported. So I just wanted to jump in there and really say that from the service aspect, it has to come from a place of who we are, and not that, you know, we usually say fake it till you make it, but I think we now need to stop faking it and just let it be who we are.
We are. And I know you were dying to get in, and thank you for your patience. And by the way, I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface of all the things I'd planned to ask you all, but I am so enjoying this. Candice.
Yeah, I think Melnecia just gave me an alley-oop. That's what it's called. Yeah. So I was going to speak about, you asked about how do we get buy-in from the man on the street, you know, seeing tourists coming and being pleasant to them, sorry. I totally agree with what Phéon said, totally agree with what Melnecia said. I'm going to look at it from a different perspective in terms of dollars and cents. So Melnecia just spoke about an experience that we have curated, my company. And the experience begins with going to the market, being greeted by name, the guests being greeted by name by one of the market vendors. They're tasting the fruits. They have small local treats that have been prepared for them to taste. Then they go over to the fisherman. They have, you know, this small little bottle cap that with the board that you they learn how to clean fish. Then they go off from there. They get a fraker from the fraker man. They have private lessons with the masqueraders. They have tomahawks with their names on it. All of these are authentic experiences, authentic local experiences. And the way we get buy-in is to get the local man on the street who have the artisans, the masquerade, the market vendors to say, we're bringing these people. You have to be pleasant to them, you know, and the more you incorporate these people, the more it's going to become a part of them. The more they're just going to see somebody on the street and say, you know what, that may be my next guest. Let me say good afternoon.
Right.
Because you're speaking now in terms of dollars and cents. And they're thinking, this is my livelihood. It's not just, it's all well and good for it to be a part of us. It would be amazing for it to be a part of us and for us to have that patriotism in our island to just want to share and say, think it is the best thing ever. But when you're realizing, this is my livelihood, this is how my family eats, I have to be nice to these people.
Right.
It may not be the best thing to think about, to say that's the reason why, but it's a real reason.
But you know, for a lot of people, it is the bottom line.
Yeah, it's
Tell
a real
me
reason.
what I am going to get out of it.
Exactly.
That's
and
how the
people want
world
to
is
know what
today,
they're
right?
getting out of it.
Right.
So the more you incorporate the regular man on the street, I hope I'm not being offensive by saying that, the more you incorporate the entrepreneurs, the persons who have something small, you know, the artisans that have the local stuff that they make and all of these things. You try to incorporate them in the experience for the guests, the more buy-in you get from the everyday persons. That's my opinion.
And just to add, I think, just to add to your point with buying, I think buying comes at many different levels. Because you spoke about the common man just now on the street, but also persons would see the benefit that the tourism dollars have done to the infrastructure. So that's the person driving the cars. You've seen the buying when it comes to health, persons utilizing the health care system. And you've seen the buying from the cultural arts, persons performing, etc. So, essentially, and back into the space of luxury tourism, because it's more funds, etc. I think you have buying when persons receive that first check, essentially, because the funds directly benefit your life and your livelihood. And I think we are at the point where I could dare go on a limb to say I think everyone in St. Kitts and Nevis has seen the benefits of tourism. And I also think we have full buy-in. Essentially, it's just where can me as an individual place myself within the sector to help create a lifestyle for my family, etc. So I think we're at that level of the buying. I think we've seen that in St. Kitts and Nevis.
But barring the folks who are directly involved in the industry, there needs to be a realization, if you will, of everyone that if our tourism economy is doing well, if our tourism industry is doing well, that benefits everyone. It doesn't mean I may not be directly involved, but I know, if I might have a little clothing store, not designed for tourists. But if people in the industry are doing well, they're going to buy stuff from my clothing store. And those, that's a very simplified explanation, but it really does affect everyone. And the flip side of that is a negative experience because I went down the wrong road and I asked, excuse me, how do you get to the, and you get a bad vibe, that's what you're going to remember.
And unfortunately, to your point, Toni, we learned that hard lesson in 2020.
Yes, I was going to say that, yes.
We learned that very hard lesson in 2020 where when we no longer, for those months, had the industry, we realized how much we depend on that multiplier effect of the dollar. And usually when we are training at the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, and I'm sure it's the same for the Nevis Tourism Authority as well, we try to explain how a dollar can trickle through the entire economy just from one visitor spending. So for example, and I'll use the example here, a visitor walks off a cruise ship, or they can be staying at a hotel and they go into downtown Bastille. And let's say they buy, and I'm going to use the simplest, they buy a souvenir. The money is instant in the pocket of that vendor. They have that cash. They're now able to take that cash and go to, let's say, the pump, the gas station, and fill up their vehicle. The gas station is now able to pay the attendants who are working at the gas station. The attendant is now able to take that salary that they're receiving and buy their children's school books, etc., etc., go to the supermarket, go to their local mom and pop shop, go to a side vendor who might be selling food and beverage. And so you realize that from that one transaction, that dollar multiplies throughout the economy. And so I just wanted to make that point that, yes, the industry is critical, and because it is our mainstay right now, we do not have another industry that is driving our economy. And so it is important for us to realize, even as we celebrate our Independence 42, it is a really big part of our sustainable island state agenda. Because if we are going to be able to look after ourselves, then we have to realize that we have to protect the industry. And we have to do all that we can to grow the industry and to add value. And something that Phéon said earlier about the local businesses. Part of the industry now is because people are more discerning and they're more looking for those local experiences, that's an opportunity for many of our individuals within our various communities to become engaged. We're now past the point of where persons are looking from the outside in. We want individuals to be a part of, but we don't want it in any way. We want it to be packaged properly so that we can export. We were in a meeting yesterday, and I won't call the name because I don't want to give out any ideas and put anyone on the spot, but we had some great ideas as to how you can have that local display, those local tours, engage the community, that mommy or daddy who might know how to turn some corn, and that's not something that visitors normally are able to have access to, unfortunately, because even at the Tourism Authority, in our venture deeper and in even our authentic promotions of the destination, we say eat local. But then you get on island, it's Monday or Tuesday, and you can't get the local food. You can't get the local food.
Because we cook everything on Fridays, cook up and go water, right?
Cook up and
So
go
you gotta wait
water.
until Friday.
And the black pudding. So what happens to the visitor who is not here on a weekend? We want to be able, and even as we move forward into transforming into the destination, St. Kitts and Nevis into year-round tourism destinations, we have to be able to offer what we have on a regular and consistent basis.
Okay, so here's the question, because we're all preaching from the same hymn book, so to
Yes.
speak. Or, is that the correct expression?
The hymn
Singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yes.
So how are we going to do that now? How are we, like, what specific models do we use to ensure that our nationals have genuine ownership, that, you know, that they actually control some of these? That how do we get that involvement?
Well,
Do people come to you? Do we go to them? Do you work through cooperatives, schools, the college? How do we do it? How do we get from where we know we need to go to?
Jump in? You want me to?
I think
Let's start with Candice.
what we were explaining is what has been happening.
Right.
We're now involving what Melnecia said, which.
How do you get those people? I loved the ideas you were talking about. I mean, I would love to go to a country. You know what? I would love to, as a national, take part in that experience. I don't know how to turn corn. I'm sorry, I don't. Do you? You know how to turn corn?
Theoretically.
Theoretically. I've seen it being done. But how do you decide who gets to be the person? So you've developed these fantastic sounding programs. They can go and they can learn how to scale a fish with a bottle cap.
Yes.
Yes.
About this?
I know how to
buy
do
my
that.
fish in the
I know how to do
supermarket.
that.
Already clean.
Yes, I know how to do that one.
You know how to do that?
Yes, I know how to do that one.
But so who are those people? How did you find them? Did you put out a picture with somebody you knew? How can more people get involved?
Okay, I get your question.
Okay.
So these people, the ones we use are existing people who
Do this, right?
Yeah, who do this in our network. However, at the rate at which the country, specifically St. Kitts and Nevis, are pushing entrepreneurship, and with programs like these, programs like what tourism has sometimes, where they call for people to bring ideas so that they can be within the network. So when we're looking for people, they are available. So entrepreneurs, because I'm telling you, we're not short of ideas, but a lot of the times it's access that people don't have. So when tourism comes up with these programs where people can come and pitch their ideas, I was part of one of those programs, and we benefited tremendously from that. And when people come and pitch their ideas, they're entered into a pool where different DMCs can pull from and say, okay, I think this would be
DMC, sorry.
a destination marketing company. So these people who are curating the experiences, who already have access to the guests, whether it's to the hotels or to the ships, can now pull these people along and say, okay, I think that this would be an amazing part of this experience. So I'm going to bring Sandra, and she's going to show our guests how to turn con.
Okay. We do have to take a pause for a cause. When we come back, I want us to explore this a little bit more. Training. I mean, you can't just pick up any person who cleans fish and say this is the one. Obviously, there's a certain amount of training, whether it's in customer service and so on, that would be required. So we want to expand on this a little more, and we will when we come back after a quick break.
The St. Kitts and Nevis Independence 42 Committee presents Conversations, Reflections and a Way Forward. This interactive discussion series provides an in-depth view of the trials and achievements of the past, as well as the accomplishments, threats, and tremendous opportunities of today and in the coming years that will transform the Twin Island Federation into a model sustainable island state, serving as a beacon for all. In this edition, we discuss Beyond the Beach Towel. Can St. Kitts and Nevis redefine luxury tourism for Kittitians and Nevisians?
Your children's future dwindling.
Welcome back to Conversations. This week, Beyond the Beach Towel, can St. Kitts and Nevis redefine luxury tourism for Kittitians and Nevisians? And my guests with me today, and I should periodically reintroduce them. We have Candice Grant-Charles, who's the CEO of Armada and Elegance. We have Mr. Phéon Jones, who's Director of Sales and Marketing with the Nevis Tourism Authority, and the Deputy Chief Executive Officer with the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, Mrs. Melnecia Marshall. You were in the middle of telling us about some of the exciting ways that we are already redefining the product. We are already going beyond the venture deeper into very specific, authentic areas. But let's talk a little bit more about that. How do we find the people? How do the people find us? How do we curate these experiences? Because we can't just send them down and say, go chat with any of the fishermen down on the Bay Road. I mean, it'll be fun, but, and of course, where does training fit into all of this? Not that we're telling them how to do the fish, but the training of the customer service experience. So let's finish up what you were saying, Candice.
Yes, so as I was saying, there are a lot of programs that are dedicated to this. And training, as you mentioned, is a major part of it. And a lot of the times, we think it's just a blanket customer service training, which it is not. I think that based on what you're doing as a part of the product, you should be specifically trained for that. Yes, everybody should be trained in customer service. For example, we have photographers, we have videographers, and then we also have persons who deal directly with the clients. The photographers and the videographers, they have to be trained in a way. In general customer service, yes, but they have to be able to tell a client and get a client to do something on camera without making them uncomfortable, self-conscious, by just saying, okay, let me see that beautiful smile, and that gets you to lighten up, you know, just turn to the left, knowing that there's something on your jacket and they don't want it to show. They're not going to say, okay, this thing is on your jacket, because for the rest of the shoot, you're going to be conscious about this thing on your jacket. all of that is part, but on the other side, those in the office, they have to know about the country. They have to be able to sell trinkets. They have to be able to paint a picture to the client who hasn't experienced these curated offerings as yet. So there's a different level of training within just outside of just customer service training. And as I was saying, with the entrepreneurship push that we have in the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis now, it forces the entrepreneurs themselves to elevate their standards, because we have to reach those international standards in order to provide the service to the ships. I mean, the ships and the hotels, they don't play when it comes to the particular standards. So if you're going to be involved, if you're going to be roped in, you're going to automatically be forced to reach to those particular standards, the international standards. And I think all of that is a part of getting persons to the level, getting the industry on a whole to the level of where we would want it to be. It has to be individualized, and it can't just be a blanket thing, and it forces the standard to raise generally.
And to your point, Candice, about the training, the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, we recently created our training department. And one of the mandates of that department is to not just solely focus on the frontline individuals, as we may think, of tourism, meaning the hoteliers and the restaurateurs, etc., but to also look at every facet of the society and how do we incorporate training into their areas so that they realize, as Phéon was saying earlier, we are all part of the product. So one of the things I said too, and I'll use an example again here, if a visitor walks to Bastille and they walk into Caribbean or Domino's or any one of those, that's not a hotel, right? But it's part of our product because it is in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so wherever we are, in whatever state we're in, we are a part of the product. Candice said something earlier that also triggered something in my mind as it relates to standards. When we are creating our businesses, when we are creating our experiences, we have to be very mindful of our standards and to ensure that we are meeting a particular standard, especially if we're looking at luxury. I like to explain to individuals, authentic and rustic doesn't mean low standard necessarily, right? Because we tend to think this has to be local and it has to be me and it has to be us, right? But we still want it to be, and I keep saying it, packaged in a way that it is appealing to the guests, even if it's just the health standards, if we're looking at that. So when our visitors and even when our nationals and residents, because we have to, again, treat our own as we would treat others, this is our practicing ground, right? And so it's important that as we incorporate training into all that we do, that we look at every single facet. Persons think that when you're looking at training, you're looking at simply just customer service, but that's not all. You have marketing elements, you have finance, you have social media, you have entrepreneurial skills. These are things that will help our people to develop, to raise the standards of the businesses that we're offering as part of the tourism product.
And just to add to that, because you did touch on social media marketing, in Nevis now, when it comes to persons who want to go after, for lack of a better term, the tourism dollars, we offer training at the Ministry of Tourism, and this training is vast training, depends on what you would need, what your current needs are. I know recently they would have hosted digital marketing training for entrepreneurs, and given that you're in the space of social media, internet, etc., one of the things I want to speak about with companies is, as we spoke about earlier, is how you package your company, how you display your company. All of that falls into a part of luxury as well. And back to the point earlier with Candice, in relations to choosing persons, let's say you said cleaning fish, you know, obviously you can't just choose anyone, and there are certain, I don't want to say tests, but there's certain processes that they would have to go through, but it's a learning experience. Anyone is able to do certain things once you're willing to commit yourself and learn. And to the point of earlier of sending anyone to the downtown to speak to any fisherman, I think in 15 years, if we have proper training through schools, etc., you will be able to send anyone to
speak to anyone.
Because at that point, the entire community, society understands that tourism is all of our business, and we have to move away from we thinking tourism is only tourists is only Caucasians. Tourists,
more and more, yeah, you're right.
A tourist is a person who comes to your island to experience what you have. They stay a couple hours or days, and they spend money within your society. And
domestic tourists.
And you still have domestic tourists.
But you do, yes.
We do have to move away from that, and I guess that is still deeply rooted in service. And once we're able to understand that, I think we are on the correct path. And I think more and more persons are seeing that. And I think social media is really pushing that as well. Why I say that? In this day and age, if you don't offer good customer service, persons tend to go to social media, and that can kill your business.
Yes.
So what that forces people to do is offer good customer service all year round. So I honestly think that is a perfect check-in balance that has come on stream now, and I think we are on the correct path. We just need to continue to reach out to the various stakeholders and continue to push education through the schools, talk shows, and stuff like this will also help curate the message and push it to the masses. So definitely training.
And I think getting the training in the schools is key, because as Melnecia says, it can't be fake. No. I mean, it can be, you can get away with it, you know, and we do teach people to smile. And I have to give you a quick example with a company I work for where we trained everyone with customer service, please and thank you and so on. And they then provided the fake customer to go in and act like a customer. And they were greeted by one of our staff, and they were quite pleasant. How are you? Please, thank you. And had a lovely conversation. They helped them. I don't want to identify the business by saying what they were doing. But during the engagement with, and it's a sit-down kind of thing. You sit and you're having a conversation with the employee. During the conversation, once the phone rang, and another time they were called away. And when the phone rang, they just stopped and picked it up and answered and said, "Oh, I'm busy at the moment," and hung up. And they just went back and continued their conversation. We hadn't told them that if you are interrupted, you should say, "Excuse me one moment, please." And I'll call you back. And thank you so much for your patience. Because it just didn't come from inside. They had been taught, please, thank you, how lovely to see, and have a nice day. But the common courtesy of if you are sitting face to face with another person and somebody calls you, say, "Oh, excuse me one moment, please." And they just did not know that was what you had to do. So that now takes us back to the home or the school, because, you know, sometimes not all homes quite have it. You know, things are sometimes a little chaotic. But something as simple as, "Excuse me one moment. Oh, I'm terribly sorry to have been interrupted." It just was not there. And that tells us, and this is where we go to, you know, the getting into the schools and getting it just into being how we present themselves. Your mother, your granny telling you always say good morning and good afternoon. I'm sorry. Hard thing for a Kittitian and Nevisian to say. So I think Nevisians are better at it.
Sorry.
Sorry. Well, I think,
sorry.
No word of a lie, I'm going to say something terribly controversial. I am a Kittitian, born by Kittitian parents and so on. But I do think in Nevis, you all have a little upon us with the graciousness. I think, as we're getting there, but it's still very much that we're taught. I think it's very easy for us, and I'm not sure what it is, I think it's still very easy for us to for our backs to go up. So if a customer comes, a guest in a hotel, and they're angry because their room wasn't the way it was supposed to be, we'll put up our guard. We might say and do all the right things, but it really bothers us. We take things very personally. We cannot say, "I'm terribly sorry, sir, that oughtn't to have happened. How can I help you?" It would kill us. And there is a disconnect there, and it's something something about how we were raised, maybe feelings of oppression, but Nevisians don't have it.
I just want to
What's
say,
the difference?
I just want to say, as the lone Nevision in the room, I
Yeah.
think I'm just going to say thank you to that.
Okay, we'll go with
I
that.
don't want to
And we're getting there, but you understand what that's an extreme example.
I think we have,
cultural differences.
unfortunately, in some situations, we have moved away from those things that
The service
made
servitude
the
thing?
difference. Yes.
Yes, we don't know the
Yes.
difference between service and servitude.
Yes, correct. And I think that is one of the existing confusions. And I agree with you, Toni, in the sense that we do need to start in the schools. This is something that I know the Ministry of Tourism has been trying to tackle for a very long time in terms of getting a consistent program in the schools, because again, another one of the proverbs, you can't bend a tree when it's already grown. Right? And so while we have our young people, this is an opportunity to teach them about the industry, the importance of the industry and how they fit into the industry and how the industry can help them. Okay? So I do agree that in some instances we have kind of moved away from some of those values I really attributed to who we are as a people. I recall traveling a few months ago to another Caribbean destination, and what was so shocking to me was the fact that all you had to do is stand on the side of the road and the vehicle stopped. There was no crossing, nothing. And that in us is, in as small as it may have seemed, that made a great impact on all of us, because we were just taken aback that you didn't need
People
to stand at a crossing, but people were so polite, and people were waiting to hold the door open for you to enter. And I mean, I was like, we literally asked, like, y'all doing this is because of us, or this is just something that is?
Yeah.
And
Isn't
they were
that
like,
something?
No.
But perhaps what we need to be looking at is civics. This is even old people like me. It might even been before my time. But we used to teach things like courtesies and the importance of service and volunteerism and so on. But perhaps that's where we need to go right back to the beginning.
I think to add to this conversation, because I did mention social media earlier, and one of the things that we must appreciate is that although social media is great and it has done so much things that are wonderful and can do so many more things, there's a negative side to it.
Always.
Why I say that is, remember, just like how we are displaying our culture and pushing our culture, there's also influence from other cultures. And when I was younger, I couldn't dare pass someone in the street and not say good morning or good afternoon. And those things would have stemmed from one, home, two, from the school. So, you know, obviously you grow up to become an adult that display these type of behaviors. And I think that's one of the things that we possibly may have to go back to and really look at and view as a society as well. I could even go back years ago, and this was in a previous life, at a previous job, when we had an opening of a bank in St. Kitts, and when we had the national anthem being played in the heart of town, the cars in the road stopped. Now, if you play the national anthem now, you realize a lot of people just walking or running and stuff like that. You couldn't do that when I was younger. So I think basically one of the key things is discipline as well. We have really moved away from the discipline as it relates to who we are as a people. We are nice, friendly people, and we do need to get back to that being that nice, friendly people all year round. And it's not just when you clock in at 8 and you check out at 4. It has to be all year round. Go back to the days of when you used to give your neighbor a hand of banana out of your yard and them kind of things there. So, you know, overall, and I'm accepting bananas if you guys have any, you know, independence coming up, you need all them things to cook and etc. So if you have any, just remember me in your thoughts. But in either case, back to the basic mannerism that we had back then. And the gentleness and the kindness, I think that's something that's truly lacking in today's society. And all of that is not only social media, it's also technology. Because if you look how the young people communicate, they don't speak to one another now.
They don't.
I think a lot of the conversational skills are being lost. I've witnessed where a young man and a young girl is next to one another and they're not speaking, they're actually WhatsApping one another. You know, those kind of things is a bit scary to me. So it's good and bad. We just need to tweak.
I don't want to get sidetracked, because I do want to talk a bit more about this redefinition and how do we redefine it with the involvement of Kittitians and Nevisians. But part, I think, and perhaps you say this is the outside influence, somewhere along the line when we were taught, don't let anybody oppress you and you must stand up for yourself, and nobody can make you do anything you don't want to do. Those sorts of things that we were taught purportedly to enhance our confidence and self-esteem have put us, and I think perhaps when we raise our children, we have this generation of really entitled people. I don't feel like doing that, and I don't want to do that, and you can't make me do that. And you know, that is just seems to be the way of the world. And so when you're telling people to be gracious and kind, they don't see any benefit in it. So I don't think that we can solve that problem today.
No.
But I think we need to recognize that that's an issue and maybe put on our thinking caps. And I think we've touched on it. I really think we're going to have to go back to school. Going to have to go back to school, literally.
Yes. And I think exposure, it's also something that is going to help us.
You send a Kittitian individual to live abroad, and they are the most gracious,
They
helpful.
conform.
Yeah, but we know how to do it, you know? We know how to do it.
Given the right environment.
Good, right? But here is like, I'm a Kittitian Nevisian, and you can't tell me what to do. And I'm a Kittitian, so I deserve the job more than the next person because I'm as though the qualification is just being a Kittitian. You know, those sorts of, it's that entitlement thing. Not that we ought not to be entitled, and we have our rights and so on.
But as we said, we have to back up our church.
We do, and there's a responsibility that comes with it. But I think that is a whole other conversation. Today on Conversations, we're talking about some very specific things. But it is still all part of nation building. Well, I think we need a separate conversation for that. And certainly not to minimize that, but we acknowledge that that's a weak spot for us, that's a weak link. But getting back to our luxury tourism development, how do we make that, and I think things like venture deeper, but how do we ensure that luxury tourism doesn't become this sort of little enclave, you know, and people are, you know, coming in and not experiencing the product. How do we do that? How do we create opportunities and benefits that are genuinely accessible and enjoyable for local residents as well? Do we have a situation where people who are in hospitality, who are selling the destination, don't even know these experiences themselves?
There are some persons, and the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, we currently have a campaign. It's a staycation, where we're encouraging our residents and citizens to stay and experience the destination. And so if we become more cognizant of that, and we're able to not just see the tourism product as something to be enjoyed by others, but for us to enjoy ourselves, then that is going to start a whole other conversation for us in terms of us exposing ourselves to the product. Most of what we think, we see things from afar, and we're not touchy-feely with it. And we need to get touchy-feely with it. Now, from the luxury side, and not having a luxurious product where the product is here and the people are here, because you don't want that. You want synergy. And so sometimes, whilst we want the persons to engage with the community, because of course that is a core principle of sustainable tourism, we also want to be able to take the people to the product. So, for example, you may have a hotel, and part of your experience is having an artisan's night, where you invite local vendors, the artisans, folklore, etc., to come on your property and to incorporate that into your luxurious product offering, right? And so I think one of the things that needs to happen is to have some greater synergies in the product itself, where you can have that engagement, not just on the side of the going and engaging the community, but also integrating the community into the product, into your product itself.
And the people who work in hospitality, should they be going on the sugar train? Should the St. Kitts ones be going to visit Nevis?
Absolutely.
There are people in St. Kitts who have, honestly, have never been to Nevis.
Well, we're going to look into the camera. You need to look into the camera and invite everybody.
Of those persons, you know, gone are the days where you take, 45, 55 minutes an hour to get to Nevis from St. Kitts. You could not do it in 7, 5, 6, depends on the driver or the captain of that small boat from the peninsula to Oli. But we want to invite everyone in St. Kitts who have not been to Nevis yet. This is a perfect time to experience the island of Nevis, your sister island. We're over there, a bit smaller, 36 square miles, beautiful, lovely beaches, and we have so many experiences that you can offer. So come on over to our Kittitians. But back to the topic now. What I want to say is that things are really different now. In Nevis Tourism Authority, one of the things that we do, given that we are responsible with the marketing of the destination, when persons come on board, it's a part of the training that they actually get to experience a lot of the excursions, a lot of the curated adventures that we offer on Nevis. On top of that, we encourage all of the staff to go out. Once we have persons on island, we accompany them with all of these experiences. But I want to appeal to the locals, as we would say, that you have to take ownership as well and experience certain things. You don't have to wait. And even sometimes when you wait because you have high season and you have low season, the price margin changes. So you can experience these things. It all depends on the time of year. It depends on what your pocket will tell you at that point in time. But I encourage you to experience it, because a lot of the time, as Melnecia said earlier, we tend to just look and we don't experience it ourselves. I myself, I've experienced a lot of things within the tourism, but a lot of things I've experienced was actually before I joined tourism. I've had memories of going to the beach. I've had memories of climbing Nevis Peak. I have memories of going to the hot bath, the springs in Nevis, and all of this is before I would have joined the tourism authority. So I just want to say we have to take some level of ownership, go out and experience what we do have, because I would promise you, a lot of the times when you travel, you would realize that we have a lot of things here that is untapped, and to some extent even better than what you will experience out there. You have to learn to appreciate what you have, because a lot of persons, by the thousands, because we have the numbers, come here and experience what we have here. So experience it yourself.
And you can't sell something that you don't know.
That too.
So
Is there, sorry, no, go ahead.
No, so I was going to say to Candice, because Candice is a tour operator.
Yes.
And so I know for you, you have your own way of experiencing the destination, because you have to package it and know how to sell it, right?
Precisely. We had to go through.
You went and cleaned the fish?
Of course, Toni. I'm an expert now. But with that, in order, I think it was Phéon who just made a great point. I mean, I'm not sure who said it, but you can't sell what you don't know. And if we want the hotels and the hotel staff to sell these experiences, we have to let them experience it, because then they can speak from a point of knowledge that this is a great experience, and they can't. Sometimes you're selling something and you're not really sure of it, you haven't experienced it. So what we've done is go and have the hotel, the staff members experience the
product,
the offerings that we have to the guests, and then they can go back and confidently speak that this is a great experience. There are also programs like the Restaurant Week and those kind of things that help locals to experience these high-end products, so to speak, sometimes at the local dollar, you know. I think that there's a lot of those kind of things, and Phéon spoke about the high season. I tend to look at things at a very practical way. In from October to April, We want the foreign dollar. We want the US to come in, we want the pounds to come in, we want these people's money. I'm not saying that we're excluding the locals, but that there's a period where the foreign dollar is in influx, and we should take advantage of that period.
Right. And chances are prices are going to be a little higher during that time anyway.
Prices are higher
Right.
during that time.
Right.
Prices are higher during that time. But from April to November to October, they are lower. It's called the off-season. And there are a lot of businesses that offer local pricing for locals to come and experience the exact same experience that the tourists are experiencing for 3 times the amount for local pricing. So there are opportunities for locals. But so I spoke about how the hotel staff are experiencing it, and for the regular locals to come and experience it, there are opportunities that are provided for them to experience it, just for us to take advantage.
I think Restaurant Week is a great example.
Yes.
You know, it encourages locals to go out and try restaurants they mayn't otherwise have the opportunity to try. Is there a role for the tourism authority though? So if you have a small business, you might have a little beachside cafe or something. So you as an entrepreneur may not be in a position to send your 6 or 7 staff to, you know, to go on the sugar train or whatever it may be. Is there a role for the tourism authority to offer some sort of training, if you will, that a small tourism-related business could say, look, we're going to send 2 next week and 2 the week after?
Sorry,
So
I think what Toni is asking is basically for a tourism authority, how can we get involved where we assist small businesses who may not be able to afford to send their teams on board some of the excursions because of a price point. And yes, there are things that we can do. There are internships that can be created. I know we have, in the past, we've done Pioneers of Tourism, some of these experiences where you engage and you have internships where persons can actually go to different properties, different tours and things like that, and work along and experience it. And so, yes, there is a role for the tourism authorities, St. Kitts and Nevis, of course,
to assist in the training of people in the industry.
Of the people in the industry. And not just, as you said, from a theoretical sense, because, yes, we have those programs, and yes, we explain and we try our best to have the case studies to give that practical sense. But, yes, we also do lean on our stakeholders as well to assist in those areas where we can.
Yeah, and just to add, and the reason why it's very practical, because we understand at the authorities that when our stakeholders win, all of us win. So, of course, that is something that we'll engage in. It's just about the conversation. Okay. Once you have the conversation, and one of the main reasons, to my mind, why we have the Ministry of Tourism is to actually improve the product. And improving the product is not just the matter that's on the ground, it's also the human capital, improving them and their skill set. So definitely, that's something we partake in, improvements, because overall, when you spoke about luxury tourism, this falls within the service part of
the service aspect. Okay, we have to take.
Power.
So sorry. Okay, we're taking one last quick pause for a cause, and we'll be back to continue and wrap up our conversation today.
The St. Kitts and Nevis Independence 42 Committee presents Conversations, Reflections and a Way Forward. This interactive discussion series provides an in-depth view of the trials and achievements of the past, as well as the accomplishments, threats, and tremendous opportunities of today and in the coming years that will transform the Twin Island Federation into a model sustainable island state, serving as a beacon for all. In this edition, we discuss Beyond the Beach Tower. Can St. Kitts and Nevis redefine luxury tourism for Kittitians and Nevisians?
Could you see your children's future dwindling?
And welcome back to Conversations. Beyond the Beach Towel, we're talking about luxury tourism in St. Kitts and Nevis and how we can redefine it for Kittitians and Nevisians. We don't have a lot of time left, and there's something very important that we need to speak to. And I'm going to sort of lump this all into one question. So what specific changes or policy changes in terms of licensing and training and land use do we need to explicitly favor tourism models that prioritize local ownership, employment, cultural preservation, and environmental sustainability? I almost want environmental sustainability to be a show by itself, but can we speak to that? What needs to happen to make sure that these things are prioritized? And I would say the keys there, the local ownership, the environmental sustainability, and even the cultural preservation. Somebody was telling me recently, for instance, with the folklore characters and the masquerade troops, that a lot of the routines have been shortened to commercialize them more, which is understandable because they can be quite extended, and if you only have a few minutes to entertain some guests somewhere, you may not be able to let it go on for as long, but at the risk of losing the original dances and meaning and so on. So there's something that we need to do in there. We want to preserve the authenticity, but not commercialize things so much that they're no longer authentic. We have to give this one to Candice because she almost left out of the chair.
Yes.
So you can do this one standing up if you need to.
What we can do and are doing, I quite understand that there are certain things that we have to, certain tweaks that we have to make to certain things to make them fit within our packages. What we can do, and I realize that we are doing, is when we have our cultural presentations, we build something for tourism around that. So, for example, it would be in December where we have our carnival, and that's the hugest display of our culture. In, what's the festival? Music festival. We advertise for carnival for persons to come and experience it in its authenticity. It's not being curtailed, it's not being shortened, they're experiencing it the way it's supposed to be shown. So what we can do, as opposed to, well, in addition to, let me don't say as opposed to, in addition to curating experiences curtailed for the visitors, we can also create experiences surrounding the authentic showing of our culture. And that's a way of preserving
Is there a place in there when you talk about creating workshops for the visitor? I know we have, they used to have some cooking stuff. One of the hotels, they no longer do it, but there used to be like a cookie. You could come off the boat and spend the morning cooking, But is there a role for a folklore workshop where they actually learn a little bit about the history and some steps of the masquerade? Do we do that?
That is part of our, that is part of our
thing?
experience.
Okay.
Yes, we speak. They speak. There's like a small training session where you learn some of the dances, you learn the history behind the cultural presentation. You get
that's done or being worked on?
No, it's being done.
Oh, fantastic.
It's being done.
So many things. Yeah. The average person on the street doesn't know about.
It's the awareness.
The awareness, that's a major thing.
I think a major element of, and something that we definitely need to work on, is the awareness of making our people aware fully of the product and what we offer.
To that end, there's still a bit of an us and them about the visitors and us. But if there was a nice little program on TV, a nice little program that shows you the visitors learning, and you realize, oh my gosh, you mean they want to learn about the masquerade? And look at them cleaning the fish. But I think it would change our perception of the person who comes, because we just see them as wanting to come and sit on the beach and be served. What if we saw them, the authentic visitor,
being immersed,
being immersed in our culture? It'll give us a completely different perception, I think, and I think would perhaps warm the hesitant ones.
And you might be on to that. Toni, Phéon. I think we're both going to pretty much almost say the same thing at this point. But I just want to just say quickly, the sustainability aspect of tourism, yes, we touch on the environment because the environment is the main resource of tourism. And outside of that, of course, we know the people and then the infrastructure, etc. So if we are able to develop programs where our visitors are able to really learn the culture, just as much as we need the workshops to continue the culture, right? But that's a whole other conversation. We need our visitors to be able to fully immerse themselves, and that's part of the sustainability aspect of it, ensuring that it is able to continue. When we speak to regenerative tourism, we want to speak to enhancing, adding value, healing, and that's part of protecting the environment. So we have visitors who want to come to an island and not just sit on a beach, but they want to plant a tree. Right?
True.
They want to be able to leave a positive impact. They're measuring their carbon footprint, right? And so we have those visitors who are out there, and we just need to know how we can appeal to them and bring them to island and have them contribute.
So, and I've seen the Venture Deeper promotions. Are we there yet, or do you envision we can reach a place where we are selling St. Kitts and Nevis as the place with the green energy, as the place with the low carbon footprint, and so on? Because that is appealing, and there is a market for that.
We're definitely getting there.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Conversations like this and conversations will surely start the ball rolling for us to get with us one. But I think that Melnecia touched on some very good points as it relates to sustainability. It's a very big topic in St. Kitts Nevis, and a big push has been made. One of the things is banning the single-use plastic. That was definitely a big move. And as it relates to Nevis now, just to speak about a festival real quick, which is the Mango Festival, we've been using biodegradable containers for years now. You know, stuff like that, simple stuff like that will make a big impact and has a big future step towards the right direction. And also, just to wrap up in a sense, when it comes to sustainability, we want to ensure that the environment or what we offer will be here for years to come, because we alone should not benefit from it. Our children, our grandchildren, and our children after that should benefit. And that's, to me, in my mind, where sustainability steps in. You have to ensure the environment remains protected.
And pun intended, so we need to package our green economy and into the product.
There are experiences that we have currently that are in that. There's what's the Liamiga Farms?
Yes.
Right.
A major one of these things that show the sustainability. I think that you can go there, you can stay at the villas, or a villa that they have there, and you're basically living off of the earth. Whatever it is that you eat there. Kittitian Hill is another one that I have experienced personally. 3/4 of my breakfast there was from food.
Farm.
From the farm, the farm to fork initiatives. All of these things are ways that we are setting ourselves to be sustainable. And I think that more initiatives like these will come on board in the years to come. But we have made that push towards having sustainable. And these are the things that guests are looking for, as well, as Melnecia mentioned. They want to feel comfortable in their mind with the luxury, you know. They want to.
It's not at the expense.
Exactly, it's not at the expense of the environment, of the country, of the people. They want to feel good about themselves, but still experiencing the luxury, so to speak.
This is a tough question, and I don't even know if I would know what the answer would be myself. But beyond just the numbers of visitors and even the revenue, is there a metric that we can use to measure if tourism is contributing to our overall well-being, other than
development? The level,
So that's your one word, but very succinct answer.
It's a powerful word.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
The
think
lifestyle of the
people.
people
Right,
involved.
I
So
think
our standard of living, yeah.
Their standard of living.
Our livelihood.
if I could speak more on the development part is this. I recall when Four Seasons was open back in the day, I was very young, so I was young. But essentially, I have seen how much the infrastructure and the economy has evolved from back then to now. I've seen how much, not only our lives, but the lives of Kittitians and Nevisians have changed from then to now because of tourism and the development it has contributed to the economy. So that is why I think I want to use the word development.
And to your point, Phéon, I want to point out a group of persons, as you spoke about that, and you spoke about development and enhancement of livelihoods and support. When I joined tourism way back when, there was a group of individuals and the Alawa vendors. And everyone, we still have the little chitter-chatter, but it's not as bad as it used to be. But when we started working with that group, if you measure where they are today as people, where they've come from, you can definitely see the positive impact that tourism has had on them as a people. So not just from the broad sense of the GDP, but they now own their own homes. They now have their own vehicles. Whereas they used to try to get a lift to go over on the beach, they now drive their own vehicles. They now can afford massage tables. They're now in their uniforms. And their children have a better standard of living for it. And I think that is one of the main ways that we can really measure the impact, the positive impact of tourism on our people.
So essentially, we've really seen the improvement of life. It has really improved the quality of life for our persons via this industry sector. And I think if we continue to cultivate the right experiences and package them the correct way as it relates to the luxury topic, I think we'll continue to see the improvement, not only for the tourists visiting the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, but also for the persons living in St. Kitts and Nevis. It's a two-way street, and I think we are both benefiting from the tourism sector.
Yes, I think the standard of living is a major factor to look at, as well as the preservation of our history and our culture. It's not just, it's well and good for us all to be making money and for us to be, for the standard of living to be raised, but if we're doing it at the expense of our culture and our history, then there's something wrong. So I think that are great metrics to measure whether we're headed in the right direction is to see that we're still, our culture and our history is still being preserved within the industry.
And supporting us.
And support, exactly. Given all the developments, we're still able to preserve that.
And I want to put a chime in because we started out by speaking about the environment. And the environment is also critical. Right now we have a campaign, it's a cleanup campaign. We've tried our best to, we don't want it to be a tourism cleanup campaign. It's really a national cleanup campaign for us. Cleaning our environment for us. Because even before a visitor can come and enjoy what we have, we are the ones who are first going to enjoy it. And I was on an interview on Freedom, and I said, when you speak to individuals, they say to you, well, why must I do that? This person is not going to have a job. The garbage collector is not going to have a job. The drain sweeper is not going to have a job if I don't throw down a bottle or if I don't do this, right? And it's a very dangerous mentality for us to have because, yes, it is a part, our environment is important for us as who we are, but once we begin to extend our negative habits and our visitors are now experiencing that. I don't know if any of us have ever traveled And once you enter an environment that is unclean, you absolutely, you don't want to be there. You even feel unsafe.
Yes,
like,
yes.
because it goes back to the psychology, and you begin to wonder, like, where am I? Who are these? What's going on?
Savages.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say that.
Sorry, I may have called my students that once or twice when the classroom gets messy. I jest.
But we have to encourage each other, right, to be stewards of the environment. So many times we may be driving behind a vehicle and you just see a bag, a bottle.
Or flying out,
flying out of the
even.
window, buses. And, and we need to become more aware of the environment, because this then, and I said to persons, then you wash down in the guts, right? And where does that end up? In the ocean. And what do we eat?
From the ocean.
The fish that have been eating all the plastic that washed down the gut.
Yeah.
So what are we doing to our own health
Thank you
when we're
very
doing
much.
that to our environment? Right. So we have to really see the connection and realize that we have to protect the environment and take what we're doing very seriously. We have to be very conscious of that.
And I'm going to wrap up by throwing a related question out. So as you do your wrap up, you can answer the question. But in regards to, there have been some wonderful campaigns that we've had over the years about plastics and recycling and not littering and so on. But we need to do it constantly. We need to do it constantly because people will forget. I always remember years ago asking a Four Seasons manager, what the key was, because Four Seasons, the same staff, quite often it's part-time people who may have like a government job during the day working at Four Seasons, and the level of service. And they said not just training, continuous training. And making sure that the supervisors and the managers are also trained. Because if you have these people all gung-ho to come and provide wonderful service, and then they're getting the grumpy manager who doesn't have the buy-in, it's just going to kill the enthusiasm. So there's definitely something to be said for that continuous reminding. Plastics all the time, so that it just becomes a way of life to, recycle. So I'm going to throw out a last question. And as you wrap up, I'd like you to quickly address this, but also look into that camera and tell the average person on the street what their role is, why they are important to the success of tourism in St. Kitts and Nevis. So here's my last question. Close your eyes. What does sustainable tourism landscape in St. Kitts and Nevis look like in 15 years, reflecting that perpetual progress and the bold steps that we are taking and continue to take? Okay. Candice, your eyes are open first.
Oh dear.
So you're going to answer me first and wrap up your answer with this is what we all need to be doing.
Sorry, you're asking.
I'm asking you, where do you see us in 15 years? How do we get to that? But also, if you have time, just to a message to the public about the role of all Kittitians and Nevisians and residents in promoting and creating this product.
I mentioned earlier about, you see a nice looking lady, you see a nice island and the sunset and sand where we were, and you want to get to know her. So you venture deeper, which is where we are now. And I think that there is a really great opportunity in the wellness space, which is where I see us heading, to have exclusive events where persons are coming and you're having the wellness retreats. You're able to come, you're able to indulge in the food, the culture. That's where I'm seeing us headed. You already got the girl, you got to know her, and now you want to enjoy life with her. And I think that's where we're headed. And for everybody out there, I think that we are all a part of the tourism product. We all have a part to play, whether it's not littering, whether it's saying hi, good morning, good afternoon, whether it's giving directions, whether we are a part of a curated experience. We are all a part of the tourism product, and we should see it as a privilege to be able to have persons come to our island and indulge in in our culture, in our history. Let's just make it good for them. Okay, that's it for me.
It's a tough act to follow, Phéon. Are you up to it?
Extreme, but in 10, 15 years, I see us leading in the sustainability field. We have been taking the correct initiatives to push the country forward. St. Kitts and Nevis, we are doing good in that space. We do have a lot of initiatives coming on board from the green energy aspect, the sustainability aspect that we've been working on constantly. So I see us leading in that. And as I said earlier, we want to enjoy St. Kitts and Nevis as it is, but still leave it for our children and grandchildren to experience in the future. So definitely that is something to consider. And all of us should be on board as it relates to doing what needs to be done for us to continuously push this lifestyle, not only for ourselves, but the future generation. Tourism is all of our business, and I think all of us should get on board. So as it relates to the topic, if we are going to see luxury, or how do we redefine luxury for Kittitians and Nevisians, my answer is a yes, we are already doing that. We are taking the correct steps and we're getting to the correct place. So in closing, I just want to say thank you. It's been a great day. It's been a great conversation. And I think we just need to continue to do our best to push our tourism further forward so all of us could benefit within the country. Thank you.
I would say for 15 years from now, I would want to see our communities empowered. I would want to see our standard of living continue to increase and to be advanced for all of the residents and citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. I would want to see our tourism product, because we have been sustainable, to be even further advanced than where it is right now, where we have new products, where we have all this untapped potential that we're able to market and sell and continue to benefit. One of the things that really hit home to me recently as I was reading something, there's a difference between perception and reality. Sometimes we say something and that may be the reality, but that may not be the perception. And so in 15 years, I would like what we are saying right now to not just be a perception, but to be a reality for all of the citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so I also want to take this opportunity as I look directly into the camera and say to all of our Kittitians and Nevisians to be a part of the cleanup program that we have happening right now. We have the campaign. Yes, there are spots outlined for St. Kitts, but we're also encouraging our Nevisians as well to join in this campaign, to join in the effort. There are different areas that we will be cleaning over the next few weeks. The campaign goes up to the end of October, and we're inviting persons within the community. If we're in your community, come and join us. If we're not in your community, start something in your community, right?
Where's the first one?
The next one is going to be at Cockashell. I think I see it on the screen, September 27th from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. And we're inviting as many of our residents and citizens to come out and join us and help us. But guess what? We don't want this to be, as you were saying, Toni, a one-shot thing. We want it to be consistent. We want to maintain what we have started and to really make it a way of life and not just something you do for the cameras or just because it's a good thing to do at this point in time. But we want to be consistently taking care of the environment if we want to have it 10 to 15 years from now. So I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity and thank you for such a wonderful conversation.
Oh, I didn't say thank you.
I thoroughly,
Thank you.
I thoroughly enjoyed it too, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today. Candice Grant-Charles, the CEO of our Modern Elegance, Mr. Jones, Mr. Phéon Jones, the Director of Sales and Marketing at the Nevis Tourism Authority, and the Chief Executive Officer at the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, Mrs. Melnecia Marshall. It's been a wonderful conversation and clearly just the beginning of one. And I hope that you all will continue to talk amongst yourselves and follow up on some of these exciting things. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our final conversation as part of the Independence 42. It will come up next week, and we're looking at From Harm to Healing, uniting in ending violence through public health. It's something, you know, we have to address head on, and we'll have some folks with us who I think are well placed to have that conversation. We certainly look forward to you joining us, and thank you for joining us today.
The St. Kitts and Nevis Independence 42 Committee presents Conversations, Reflections, and a Way Forward. This interactive discussion series provides an in-depth view of the trials and achievements of the past, as well as the accomplishments, threats, and tremendous opportunities of today and in the coming years that will transform the Twin Island Federation into a model sustainable island state, serving as a beacon for all. In this edition, we discuss Beyond the Beach Tower. Can St. Kitts and Nevis redefine luxury tourism for Kittitians and Nevisians?
Your children